We're pregnant. I cannot believe I'm saying that. It feels so weird even now to be saying that, but we're pregnant. Hey everyone, welcome back and welcome to anyone who's new to my channel. And thank you so much for just recent subscribers and all your plethora of comments and encouragements and just comments about that you're praying for us and you're continuing to pray for us and just and celebrating and rejoicing with us. And thank you all so much for all of the love you've poured out in the comment section of our previous video of us finding out that we're pregnant. And so I just want to say that and just so appreciate it. So thank you again to everyone who took time to do that as well. And also people just contacting us in different ways, just so much love, and I'm just so thankful and so much rejoicing and celebrating. I'm just very, very thankful for all of that, and I just want to speak into that and acknowledge and let it know it's noticed and it is received and it is appreciated so much. So in this video, I want to first off just acknowledge those of you who are still waiting. Pregnancy announcements, finding out someone is pregnant can sometimes be triggering. And I want to let you know that you are seen and you are valued and you are not forgotten. Because I know I've been there so many times of just longing to be pregnant and then hearing about all these pregnancies and I'm still left behind. And it's kind of like this analogy of like you're on a race and you're in this race and like you haven't even made the first lap and you're trying your hardest, but everyone's like flying past you and has made like 3 laps by now. And you know, in the time that you're still not even at your first lap, I guess the lap could be a baby or a child. So I want to let you know that you are seen and I've been there with you so many times. And, but I also want to acknowledge that this could be triggering for some of you watching this or hearing this when you are trying so many times, especially people who have had to do like IVF so many times or so many treatments, so many transfers, and things are not working. And so I just want to let you know that you are not forgotten and you are seen, and my heart breaks for you. And I just wanted to let you know that I have not forgotten you and you're not alone. And I also know for some of you who are struggling and trying, and I know for me as well, when I was struggling and trying, seeing successful stories, seeing people doing IVF and fertility treatments and being successful, it does bring hope as well. And so I'm hoping that that could be the case for some of you as well, that this could bring you some hope that maybe, you know, because I honestly just had such a hard time thinking it was even possible for myself. And now that it is, it's like, wow, like, you know, there is hope in this. And so I hope that that could also bring some of you hope in your trying. And it will not look like mine. I mean, honestly, I think most people's stories look so different. But it can still like give you hope that maybe, you know, that treatment has worked for people. There are people that have had success with treatment. And so maybe you can be one of them as well. So anyway, I just want to address that because I think it's so important. I think I value it and I don't want to brush that under the rug and just like jump into like, I'm pregnant, this is all about pregnancy and blah, blah, blah. Like, I am always like infertile. Like, just because I'm pregnant, I had to go through the most intensive invasive treatment of IVF to be able to do this. And so I'm definitely infertile. Anyway, but I know that just there can be mix of emotions in this time, and I don't want to leave it unsaid or unaddressed. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. Sorry if I'm rambling, but I just definitely wanted to speak into that and address that. But I did want to address also in this video, just reflecting back on what our journey specifically looked like. I just have these moments that I'm just like, wow, that was amazing. And so it's going to be kind of like a summary of what we went through, but pretty quick, I guess. And you can definitely go back and see all of my videos leading up to where we are now to see all of that in more detail. But I first want to start off by saying that for those of you who may not know, my diagnosis was low AMH. And that's kind of a big diagnosis. And I feel like there's some people that get that diagnosis, and even I was thinking myself, like, well, I might not have any eggs. I might not have any embryos. My eggs might not be good enough to even develop and grow and fertilize and all this stuff. And so it's not, you know, it's kind of a scary-ish diagnosis, I feel like. And I also had low antral follicle count, they told me. It wasn't very low, like I think I had like 9 antral follicles, which they said ideally it would be like 18, like 16 to 20 or something like that. But anyway, so that's what our diagnosis was. We then did our egg retrieval, and as the follicles were growing, I had a total of 9 that they could count. I had 7 right before we triggered and did egg retrieval. I had 7 that they said that they think they can get stuff out of. They think there's eggs in there. And then there were 2 tiny ones, and they were actually all in my left ovary. So my left ovary is like, does a great job. My right ovary just had 2 follicles, and they were really tiny. And so they said, I don't think there's gonna be anything in there. So I go into egg retrieval thinking maximum we're gonna get is 7. And knowing that a lot of times, you know, there may not even be an egg in a follicle that's big, so we might even get less. So anyway, I come out of egg retrieval and we got 13 eggs. And I'm just like, that's incredible. Like, I was just weeping. I didn't even know it was possible that you could get more eggs than what the nurses are saying the follicles you have. And I still don't really know how to explain that. You know, I don't know if there's just sometimes they can't see all of them, and maybe they're overlapping each other or something. But anyway, and out of that, we ended up with 8 mature eggs, and then 5 of those were fertilized with ICSI. We did ICSI not because my husband has sperm issues, but because my clinic just said, since I'm probably going to end up with a low amount of eggs, that they just want to make sure that they optimize fertilization as best as they can. So they suggested we do ICSI. So we did do that. And then my clinic, also reflecting back, something's very different that I feel like I haven't seen in anyone's story or haven't really heard many people talk about. But my clinic does this thing where if you have less than 6 fertilized eggs, they freeze those fertilized eggs on day 1, so the day after egg retrieval. They freeze them at that point and wait until you're ready for a frozen transfer, basically. And the reason why they do that is, from what I understand, is that they, you know, if they're developing and stuff like that, and they're seeing that they don't look like they're gonna make it past a day 3 embryo or something like that, then they can transfer them later on after my body's recovered from the stimming and the egg retrieval and all that stuff. So my clinic is very big on frozen transfers, if you didn't know. So even in that case, they're so big on it that they freeze them if there's just a small amount, because they don't want to risk not having any to transfer or having any to make it to blast. and they freeze very well on day 1, they said. So they did that. So when we were ready for our frozen transfer, it almost felt like a fresh transfer, because we were getting calls about, okay, now day 3, here's the update. You know, all 5 of your embryos are looking good. They're good quality at this point. So we were like, oh wow, that's great. And then we go in on the day of transfer. We don't know how many made it to blast. So it feels very much like a fresh transfer, I think. And we go in and only 1 made it to a blast out of 5. And it was a small blast. It was a 2, so it was not very expanded. So anyway, it was a 2BA, I think is what the grade. And so we transferred that one. That was all we could transfer. That was only 1. And then my doctor said that he would give it like a 2 out of 10 chance that we would get something after. We still had 3. 1 had already degenerated, and we had 3 that could potentially keep going in their development. And he didn't have high stats for that, but then the embryologist said she would give it like a 50% chance that we would get something the next day on day 6. And we ended up with 2. And it was a miracle. Again, I'm weeping. Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh. And when I think back on that specifically, I'm like, if we didn't have those 2, I would not be pregnant right now. Like, we would need to go through the whole like egg retrieval, IVF process again. And so I'm just like, wow. I'm just in shock, like reflecting back at all this stuff. And you know, it's just a miracle that we got those, and they thawed perfectly for our transfer. They stayed the same grade. They were a 5BA and a 4BB. And yeah, and it worked. Like, I just could not believe it. And even with my lining concerns, like I was concerned at my lining this time because it was only like a 7.3, and I thought that, you know, ideally they want at least 8. But my doctors didn't seem too concerned about it. They were like, yeah, you know, minimum is 7, you know, so, but I was just barely above that. So it was just, there were just things I was just kind of not having much hope in, you know, because of that. But, you know, the transfer did go well and the embryos looked good, so that was encouraging. But anyway, I'm just reflecting back on that, and even reflecting back on my 2-week wait, how I'm so thankful that I didn't do any testing before, so I could just kind of be in the moment and just kind of like had a lot of peace most of the time. And I'm just so thankful for that. And not saying that's the case for everyone. There are some people that, you know, are gonna do this and they're gonna be super stressed the whole 2-week wait and taking tests every day, and they're gonna get their success story. So it's not like you have to do it this way. But for me, it was really helpful. Not saying that's why we were successful, but I'm just reflecting back on, I'm so thankful it wasn't a super overwhelming, stressful time. You know, the day of finding out was pretty intense. And the day before that too was pretty intense. But besides that, I felt like I was really kind of at peace, and it almost went by a little quicker than I thought. Then it felt a little quicker than what I remember the first time. So anyway, I just wanted to share those things of just things I've been reflecting on since finding out that we're pregnant, and just wanted to share that with you guys. So I would love to hear from you guys, just where are you in this? Are you still trying? Are you, you know, about to have a transfer? Are you, you know, how can we be supporting each other and hearing your story and praying for each other and all of that? Are you in that early stage of pregnancy? So anyway, just talk to me below, comment below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely do that. I am planning on doing pregnancy updates in this, and you know, so if that's something that you're interested in following, someone who has had a successful IVF pregnancy so far, you know, we're praying and trusting God that it will continue to develop, because that's not guaranteed either. 1 in 4 people struggle with miscarriage. But we are wanting to kind of just rejoice in the moment that we have right now, And so I want to like kind of bring you guys along in that as I do some pregnancy updates and all of that, and just all those fun videos that come along with pregnancy. And if you guys have any suggestions of videos you would like to see, please comment below. I would love to hear your suggestions on things you enjoy seeing, or just would enjoy seeing specifically from me and my husband, Casey. So yeah, would love to hear that. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.